Hi everyone. I am putting together a quick little video to go over some basics in SPSS. So since y'all learn how to do everything from YouTube, you can learn how to do SPSS from YouTube. But I'm finding that I'm going over stuff in class and then I'm getting a lot of emails with the same questions. Everything doesn't always work out perfectly, which is where you may have to troubleshoot and try to figure out what's going on. Certainly, you can call and ask me, but a lot of times when you get a new job or you have to learn a new software or something like that at work, you're going to have to try and troubleshoot some of this stuff. So I'm going to try to troubleshoot a few things with you that may be causing you pain, great pain, it seems like. So let's go to our first place, which is Canvas. That causes me pain right there, but that's what we're dealing with. And I said, you're going to have to download SPSS. SPSS is actually a great program. As a student, you should take advantage of the fact that you get to have it. Everyone will need SPSS to do the homework and some of the other things that we're doing. So you're clicking on that library link. You're going to scroll down. We got Google, Microsoft, SPSS. Here it is. Let's click on the instructions on how to download and install IBM SPSS. So you click on that and it says, first thing you're going to do is go to your OneHub. So now before you get too far, let's see, we're going to go to my OneHub and I'm going to choose IBM SPS 27 for Mac or Windows and add it to my cart. Okay. Did I read everything I need to read? Download. Maybe I should keep this page open while I go to my OneHub. So I tell you what, let's go ahead and copy this. And we're going to put this in the browser so that I don't lose the instructions at the same time. So now I'm going to my OneHub. I'm logging in already. I'm going to accept their cookies. I am already in here. Now I can, if you didn't know you can do this, you can pull tabs apart. I do this constantly. So here are my directions and here's where I need to be. And this blue box right here says you need to click on IBM SPSS. Let's click on that. Now, the next box does seem a little misleading because it shows a red icon, and that's because they made the guide when IBM SPSS Statistics 2.6 version was out. You can download the 2.6 version, totally fine. But if you can, you will see that it actually has been updated since they made the guide, which this kind of thing happens. Updates come out faster than we can keep track of. So you do want to click on the statistics package 27. And actually it does say that in the directions. Click on IBM SPSS statistics package 27, even though the color is incorrect, I admit. So let's click on that. Now, the first thing we have to decide, or you have to figure out, is do you have a Windows or Mac? If you are unsure, probably if you have a Dell laptop, you have Windows. If you have Mac, it probably has an Apple logo somewhere on it. So once you identify your type of computer, you're going to click on your particular type. I have a Mac, so I'm clicking on Mac. I then need to, over here in my directions, say add it to my cart. I'm going to add it to my cart. It is going to process. Now, unfortunately, I've got an error on mine because I already have it on my computer. But let's see what happens here. If I continue reading, it should come up and I will need this authorization code to download and install it. And it's going to tell me a little bit more about that. So keep these directions open here while you're trying to download it. Now, as with anything, a download doesn't just happen perfectly. And there is another small issue with the download. So once you have the software on your computer, you then need to bring up the software file that I've given you. Here is the software file that I've given you. So let me first go ahead and go to my SPSS that I've downloaded. Mine is in applications, and it's under IBM Statistics 27. And there's a lot of different ones here: resources, samples, utility. I know you guys download games all the time, but we just want statistics. So click on that bad boy, SPS Statistics version 27. That's going to open it up. Now, you may not be able to just open the file I've given you. So don't close this page yet, because one of the things you are going to want to do when it says open another file is download this file somewhere in your downloads. All right, hold on, because I know I've lost half of you. So let me be very slow in my directions again. Here's the file you need right here. You cannot just open this file and it's magically going to appear over in your SPSS window. So you need to download it. Go ahead and click on that and see right here, it's downloading it down in the bottom of the screen. Woo, woo, look down in the bottom, it downloaded it, which means it should be in my downloads folder now. So let's go back to SPSS. Let's open another file. Okay, where should it be? Well, it should be in my downloads. Oh, there it is with its little blue icon. Let's go ahead and open that bad boy up. And boom, shakalab, we are in SPSS, just like that. All right, there are two views. A lot of unnecessary information comes into SPSS from Qualtrics. It's not a seamless import. So a lot of the information here is that some of it's even blank, we do not even need. The information we are interested in is the questions. Question 1 through 15. This is our data set. That's what I'm working with. Now, this is the data view. In the data view, I see the data for the questions that have been answered. Now, if I want to know what questions these are, I'm going to go to variable view. Now, again, all of this information up here, we don't need. Just leave it there. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to bother anything. But I do have this problem of these are my questions, but they need to be relabeled because I need to know what these questions are. So I started to do this in the lesson the other day. This is the very first thing you're going to want to do. And again, the first subscale is emotional reaction. So I'm going to call it emotional reaction 1. Then I'm going to go to the second one, emotional reaction 2. ER2. Then I'm going to call this ER3. And if you're wondering, oh my gosh, how are you getting that? How do you know that that's ER3 and so on and so on and so on? You're just making shit up, Kat. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. This is why we have, let's go back to our modules, everyone. This is why we have a code book. And here is the text message scale code book right here. So they used different notations. They just cobbled it with T, but remember, I'm calling it emotional reaction, perceptions of excessive use, and relationship maintenance. That's all I need. That's what I know those questions are 5, 5, and 5. So I'm going to go back to my SPSS and continue relabeling these RE4. And then we know there's 5 questions for RE5. Now this one is excessive usage. I'm going to name this EX1. I'm going to name this EX2. I'm going to name this one EX3. Now hold on, because there's something very important that's happening here. Do you realize when you get your own data set, you are going to have to follow your code book for each question and relabel every single variable Yes, this gets a little tedious. Welcome to data analysis. It's technical, it's difficult, and sometimes tedious. This last section, if you remember, is relationship maintenance 1, RM2, RM2, RM3. Oops, keep missing these questions in here. RM3, then we have RM4, and last but not least, RM5. Question 17 is your sex, so we could just put sex in there and label it that way. Totally fine. We are good to go now. Now we can actually start our first level of analysis. So let's go to the data view now. We've got our variables. See how they are up top? Makes it so nice and easy. So a couple of things that we do to our data sets right from the start. One of the things we have to decide is, do we have any reverse scored questions? And we didn't talk about this yet because there are none in this particular survey. But if you do have reverse score questions, guess what we need to do with those questions? We need to reverse the scores on them. So let's talk about how to enter reverse data. How do I know what questions to reverse and where are they? Well, hopefully you labeled your reverse score data. And I have my little book here that I'm turning the page in to help you with reverse score, reversing scores. We're going to go to transform up here. You see that variable? Transform. And then I'm going to go to writing this down or watching this video or open your SPSS now. Transform, recode into same variable. I'm going to click on that. Then I'm going to find my reverse score questions. Now, remember I said when you're in this view, it gives you the whole question and you may want to actually just have the numbers and you can change that. See how I just right click and it say, instead of displaying the whole question, just give me the abbreviations. All right, if you have a mouse that does not right click, you can go to the first thing I would do, your system preferences. If you're on a Mac, click on your mouse. You can actually get your mouse the secondary click on the right side so that you can right click, because a Mac mouse doesn't naturally right click. It's just doesn't want to go to the right. So you have to manually make sure that your mouse is allowed to right click and make that change. Now, Windows folks, you probably have a mouse divided in half, not one that looks like mine, that's just a solid piece. So you do have to know the right from the left. You can maybe label the mouse with a marker. All right, now, what if I say I know that question RM3 and RM5 were reverse scored because I marked that on my code book. Throw them in there, RM3, RM5, and I'm going to go ahead and click on old versus new values. And what I have to do first, which is kind of interesting, is look at the old value. So for the old value and then the new. And I am going to click in here for my new value and I am going to change this. I want it to be 1, whoopsie, 1, and I want to change it to 5. You see what I'm doing? 1 to 5, add, boom. 2 to 4, add. 3 is going to equal 3. Don't even really need to do that one. 4 is going to equal 2. And 5 is going to, 5 is going to equal 1, add. I don't really want to reverse score these guys because they are not reverse scores, but I would hit continue and all of the questions I put in it would flip the entire data set for. So that's one of the first things we need to do when we get our data set in is reverse score. You would hit continue, and just for the questions you put in there, it would flip the data. So that's, again, I don't want to reverse score because none of these questions are reverse score, but I want you to be aware that that's one of the first things you have to do to your data is get it in the final set we want. So you've got to take care of those reverse scores. From there, we also can start running some basic statistics. We're going to go up to analyze. The two things you're using here are descriptive statistics, descriptives, frequencies, and you can, again, see the questions come up. I don't want the questions. Right click, display variable names. So I've got all my variables in here, and I want to find out exactly how people answered number 3. So I'm going to throw that over there. I'm going to click on statistics. I want, what are the 2 major groups of statistics we've been talking about in descriptive statistics? Measures of central tendency, measures of dispersion. Looky, looky, looky. We got measures of central tendency. Let's do those. Let's do our measures of dispersion. That's really all we need here, and hit continue. I like charts, so sometimes I do bar charts just for fun, but it does the frequencies, or you can do it in percentages. Okay. So now what this is telling me is I often exchange many text messages over a short period of time. I can tell you that 225 people, that's 73% said, yes, I agree. You guys are texters. And you're sending a lot of them. So that's what this tells me, how many people answered each question and what they answered it. That's a basic frequency. Okay, we're not going to save that. All right, the other button we learned how to use was also under Analyze, and it was for scale. How do we know if our scale or our measure is reliable? Well, we run a reliability analysis. Please click on reliability analysis. Again, our questions came here. Don't know why they keep changing, driving me crazy, but display variable name. Now I want to know what my subscales, if they're reliable. If this had no subscales, what would I do? Or say I want to find out, well, how reliable is this measure on a whole? Not even the subscales. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab all of these. Let's see. And put them all in here. They're going. Yep. Yeah, I think that's where I stopped. And yes, you have to be careful. So I'm pretty sure got them all in here. I'm going to go up to statistics. Let's do the means. Okay. And the variances. I would like, that's really all you need to do because we haven't talked about anything else because this is a Chromebox Alpha. I'm just going to hit continue. That's all I need to do. Hit OK. This scale, reliability statistics right here, folks, has a Chromebox Alpha of 0.842. When you put all 15 items together, it's a very reliable scale to look at text message dependency. I've asked you to calculate the subscales and a few other descriptive statistics. Next, the next thing that we're going to be doing in SPSS, we are going to be looking at correlations as well as t-tests. Now, when you read the chapter on t-tests, one of the things that we have to do before we can figure out the value of t is we have to summate the scores. And this is talked about at length in your book by hand. We're not going to do it by hand. We're going to have the computer do it for us. What we have to do is we have to add up all of these averages of the scale into a final column and then split it by groups. Sounds complicated, I know. Kind of is, but it's not so bad. Well, this last column that's sticking out here is the summation of all the scores. I've already done it for you. but let me show you what that would look like. We would come up to transform. Notice we're using transform and analyze a lot. Transform, compute variable. All right, we are also going to rename this. I'm going to name this my sum. I'm going to name it sum text message dependency. Okay, I'm going to switch this to my variable names. What I need to do now is summate all of these. And if I want to do it by subgroups, I can. I'm going to do the whole scale as one. And this is also very tedious, but again, must be done. So in my expression box over here, I'm always going to start with my brackets. So we're going to put the bracket in. I want to type inside the bracket. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put my first variable in, plus my second variable, plus my third variable, plus my fourth, plus my fifth. Oopsie, somehow I missed that. See, and even I do that. I get going and I realize, oops, you didn't hit the variable like you thought you did. Let's try that again. Plus R5 in, plus all of them are going in. I got to put all these in there for each independent scale. This is what we mean by summating the whole scale. So I'm not done yet. Got to keep going. Still going. I got 5 more in. I'm summating this whole scale. And this is how I'm going to be able to run my t-test. So you will have to do this with every different scale in your survey. Boom. Okay, so that's the last one. And I'm always going to then close bracket, divide by the number of items, 15. See how I just did that? There's nothing else to do. I am going to click. It's kind of scary, but I've got my divide by 15 there. I've got my variable target name. I'm ready to click OK. Boom, it did it for me. Now, this screen that comes up is blank. Don't panic. What it is telling me is that this command was indeed executed. So I'm going to close that window and see, look, it executed it right here. This is my sum of all the text message averages for each answer. This is actually a different sum right here, so don't pay attention to that one. This is our sum of scores, all the way down. So this is giving me statistical information I need to help me answer and run my t-test. To run the t-test, now I've summated all my variables. I can run descriptives. I can run a correlation matrix now. I can even run a t-test. When we run a t-test, we are going to be going to analyze, compare means, independent samples t-test, right there. We're going to click on that. And again, I'm going to change over to my variables here, but I don't really need much because I'm going to use these variables that are already summated. That is my variable. It's the text message dependency scale. That's all I need to put in there. But now I have this grouping variable, and that one's actually going to be sex, because we're going to look at, are there differences in gender? And it's going to ask me to define the groups. Now, if you remember, group 1, who do we want to define as group 1? We defined it as 2 and 3 last time. So group 1 is 2, and that's males, and group 2, which I coded as a 3, is females. This should have been an exact match of 1 and 2, but my data set got a little wacky. So we know that it's going to divide them by 2 being male, 3 being female. Let's take a look at my options. Exclude, okay, don't really need anything there. this is going to tell me, it's going to automatically compute this at the confidence interval percentage of 95%. That's good. That's the lowest I want. So I've defined my groups. I have this measure in, and I want to see if my groups differ. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to hit the okay, boom. Now, kind of interesting. We've got males, females up here. Okay, we have substantially more females. Is there a significant difference in the overall text message dependency of males versus females? Did I find anything? And I can tell you right now, if you have a sum that is greater than 0.05 in Levine's test, any numbers, highlight any numbers that are less than 0.05. That's this bad boy right here. So this is saying that men and women are different, and there's a significant difference. As a matter of fact, less than 95%, there's a 95% chance I'm right. This is a significant difference. Is it going to tell me specifically how they are different? No. However, what it is telling me is that I got a significant difference. Anything less than 0.05 under Levine's test of significance says yes, there is a difference. And that alone is something worth reporting. This gives you the T numbers from the T table, and we will talk about that as well. Two-tailed significance, you know, I'm well under. Men and women are extremely different in their text message dependency. Now, I could go back and assert why or how and some other things, but this clearly tells me there's a big difference in this group. Now, could I have summated the 3 subscales and thrown that in? Yes, I could have. And that would give me more information. That would tell me men and women's differences on each of the 3 sub areas. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go back and summate those. So we're going to go transform, remember, compute variable. Let me go ahead and take this all out. I got my bracket there. Actually, I'm going to delete that and put my bracket in on both sides. I'm going to come back and I'm going to just do each summated subscale plus ER2 plus ER3 plus ER4, okay, plus ER5. And then I'm going to divide that by the number of questions, 5. And I'm simply going to hit OK. Now, I didn't name it. I do want to name it. I'm going to name this one sum emotional reaction. And the funny thing here is you notice I flipped the R and the E. I'm very sorry about that. That's just me trying to type and talk and explain at the same time. But I'm going to hit OK. And it has executed that formula as I have asked it to. So I'm going to close that out and see, there it is. Let's summate again. Transform, compute variable. Let's get this out of there. We don't need that anymore. Let's do the next one. Put our brackets in, always brackets first. Now we're going to do the EX summation. So EX1 plus EX2 plus EX3 plus EX4 plus EX5 divided by 5. Okay. Cancel it. It's asking me if I want to rename it, and yes, I do. I'm doing some excessive usage, and we'll hit OK. It computed, it executed the formula. The column is there. One more, transform, compute variable. Let's put all these back. Go down here and do this. Let me put my brackets in first, always and always, plus RM2. Oops, I missed it, sorry. RM2 plus RM3 plus RM4 plus RM5. Okay, and we're going to divide that by the number of questions, which is 5. I'm going to change the name and call this relational maintenance. Boom. Executed the formula I asked it to. Nope. And now it's there. So now I can run a t-test and see, do men and women differ significantly? We already know they do on text message dependency in general, but what now about these 3 subscales? So let's go back up to analyze. Remember, t-test analyzes means. So we're looking for means. Where's our means? Analyze means, compare means, independent samples, t-test. Boom, throw that back in there. Now what we're going to throw in is these 3. I've got excessive emotional response. Oopsie, emotional response. Ooh, I know, I want to see, we'll just do emotional response. My grouping variables are already in there. Let's hit OK. No, we're not seeing difference here. I can tell you right now. This is a huge number, 0.754. In terms of emotional reaction, there is no significant difference between men and women. I can already tell you that. All right, let's do that again. Let's analyze, compare means, independent samples, t-test. How about, would we like to find out if there's any difference in excessive usage? This is the one I'm thinking there might be some differences on. Let's hit OK. Ha-ha! This is where it's coming in. 0.03. Check this out. And this is what my hypothesis would have been, that women engage in much, much more excessive usage of the text messaging than men do. And we see this come up as, this isn't just like a small finding. 95% sure I can say women have more excessive usage of text messages than men do. I can make that claim. My research of 536 different people supports it of the college age. Okay. Now, I figured that was where the difference was going to come in, and I probably could have even made a hypothesis to that effect. Let's go back again, analyze, compare means, independent samples, t-test. Let's throw this out. Is there any difference in relationship maintenance? My guess is there is not going to be, but let's look at what Levine's F-test, and we haven't even talked about Levine's F-test, but let's look at what it says. Ooh, what do you guys think? Is there a difference in how the phone is used in relationship maintenance between men and women? If you're looking at this F-test, Levine's test for equality of variances, remember, I already told you we want something that's 0.05 or less. So you can tell right away that there is no significant difference. So most of the significant differences in text message dependency between men and women seem to be around excessive usage, which is higher for women. All right. That's where we're getting this from. We've looked at our F-test. We've looked at whether or not it's less than 0.05. And again, the labels do get confusing, but even our significance two-tailed column, it's not less than 0.05, so we're not seeing a big difference here. Okay. All right, we are going to get ready to run a correlation matrix as well. We'll talk about that. A correlation matrix is also going to be under Analyze, Correlate. And we're going to do a correlation matrix with bivariate. That's what we'll be doing. I will be writing all of this down for you and making sure you know what you're doing. But please, I'm begging you, when you're coming to class, don't be afraid to go back and watch the videos and say, what did she do? Watch this video. We're going to do correlate, bivariate. Let's click on it. And then all of the variables I want to include in the equation. And these are summated variables. We work after descriptives, we're always working in summated. So let's throw our 3 summated variables in here and see if anything correlates. It's going to be very small, but we've got a Pearson's, we've got two-tailed. We're going to go over to options. I'm going to exclude cases pairwise. That's exactly what I want. Means and standard deviations. Looks good. How about we click OK? I have a correlation matrix. And this is kind of, these get hard to read, but you're looking at these bottom numbers and see how we make this pretty when we do this, but I've got these variables here and these same variables across the top. What's interesting here is nothing is strongly correlating at all with anything else. And that's good. I wouldn't expect that we would see things correlating very strongly here whatsoever, because they're really not related. And the ones are how they can't correlate with themselves. I will show you how to pull this out. We did get some significant correlations because we can tell by this here, but I'm going to talk more about this and how we turn this into a graph we can work with. But generally speaking, I can tell you nothing in here is highly correlated with something else. Okay, that's these are short lessons, more to come on t-tests and everything else. But what I do need you to get to know is that there's 2 variable views. You're going to rename those variables. You're also going to have to worry about reverse scoring your variables and summating your variables. So I've given a preview for what's ahead and walked you through it. I hope this is helpful. We'll be talking more about it this week.